Imagine walking through the golden streets of Dubai, past skyscrapers that touch the clouds, past luxury malls and desert winds, and then, suddenly, you hear it. Hebrew, in the heart of the Arab world, a language that most people never expected to echo across these sands. And yet, here it is. Here they are, Jewish families, living, praying, building lives in one of the most unexpected places on earth. This is not a rumor. This is not a secret anymore. This is the new reality of Dubai, and what's happening here might be the most remarkable human story of our generation. But to understand how Jews ended up calling the UAE home, we have to go back, far back, to a time when this entire relationship seemed not just impossible, but unthinkable. For decades, Israel and the Arab world existed in a state of deep, painful division. Wars had been fought, blood had been spilled. Generations grew up being taught that the other side was the enemy. Jewish people couldn't even enter the UAE on an Israeli passport. The idea of a synagogue in Dubai would have seemed like science fiction. And then, everything changed. September 15th, 2020. The world watched in disbelief as the United Arab Emirates and Israel signed the Abraham Accords on the White House lawn. Cameras clicked, hands were shaken, history shifted. In a single moment, two worlds that had been separated for over 70 years opened a door. But here's what most people don't realize. Jews had quietly been living in Dubai long before that moment, long before the headlines, long before the handshakes. Picture this. The year is 2008. A young Jewish businessman from New York lands in Dubai for a business meeting. He's nervous. He doesn't know what to expect. He keeps his Star of David hidden under his shirt. He doesn't tell anyone where he's from. He keeps his head down, gets the deal done, and flies home. That was the reality for many Jewish visitors and residents in Dubai's early days. Invisible, careful, hidden. But something was quietly stirring beneath the surface. The UAE had always been different from its neighbors in subtle ways. Dubai, in particular, was building itself into a global city, a place where money, ambition, and diversity would collide. And with that openness came a question that no one was saying out loud yet. Could Jews belong here? The answer, it turned out, was more complex and more beautiful than anyone imagined. Today, estimates suggest that anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 Jewish people are living in the UAE, with the majority based in Dubai. Some are Israeli nationals who relocated after the Abraham Accords. Some are American, British, French, and South African Jews drawn by business opportunities. Some have been quietly living here for years, entrepreneurs, doctors, bankers, tech workers, waiting for the world to catch up to what they already knew. Dubai was quietly home. Walk through the Jumeirah neighborhood on a Friday evening, and you might notice something you never expected. A family lighting Shabbat candles in their apartment window. The flicker of flame, the whispered Hebrew prayer, right here against the backdrop of a skyline that glows gold and silver in the desert night. Sarah, a 34-year-old Jewish mother originally from Tel Aviv, moved to Dubai with her husband and two young daughters in 2021. She still remembers the first Friday she lit candles in their new home. She was emotional, not just because it was beautiful, but because it was possible. "I thought I'd have to give something up to live here," she told a journalist, "but I didn't. I get to be fully myself, and that still surprises me." Her daughters go to an international school. They celebrate Hanukkah at home. They wear Jewish symbols openly. And their neighbors, Emiratis, Indians, Egyptians, British expats, have been, for the most part, curious and kind. But here's where the story gets complicated, because not every Jewish person in Dubai has had that experience. Some Jewish residents still feel a deep, quiet tension. They notice the whispers sometimes. They think carefully before mentioning certain topics. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict casts a long shadow, and no amount of diplomatic agreements can erase the raw emotion behind that history. A French Jewish man in his 50s who works in finance and asked to remain anonymous described it this way: "The Accords opened a door, but trust, real trust, takes generations. I love Dubai, but I still feel like a guest, a welcome guest, but a guest." That honesty is important because this story isn't just about celebration. It's also about the slow, complicated, beautiful work of building understanding across centuries of pain. And yet, look at what is being built. In 2020, just weeks after the Abraham Accords were signed, the Jewish Council of the Emiratis was established. For the first time, the Jewish community had an official, recognized voice in the UAE. And then came something that no one had predicted: a synagogue. Not just a private prayer room in someone's home, an actual physical synagogue, the first of its kind in the Gulf region in modern history. Located in Dubai, the synagogue opened quietly, without much fanfare, but its significance was enormous. For a community that long prayed in secret, in living rooms, in hotel suites, having a real place of worship felt monumental. Stand outside that building for a moment. Imagine what it means. In a country where Islam is the official religion, where mosques call the faithful to prayer 5 times a day, a Star of David and a Torah scroll finding their place. That's not a small thing. That's a miracle, depending on who you ask. And the religious life of Dubai's Jewish community goes beyond the synagogue. Kosher food, food prepared according to Jewish dietary law, is now available across the city. Whole restaurants have opened catering to Jewish clientele. During Passover, Seder dinners are held openly, with hundreds of Jewish expats gathering to retell the ancient story of freedom. During Hanukkah, menorahs have been lit in public spaces, including in one extraordinary moment at the base of the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, glowing beside a Jewish symbol of light. Let that image sit for a moment. The UAE government has been deliberate and careful in its approach to all of this. Senior Emirati officials have visited synagogues and Holocaust memorials. The country has introduced mandatory Holocaust education in schools, an extraordinary step in the Arab world. The message from the top has been clear: coexistence is not just permitted, it is the vision. But visions and reality are sometimes different things, and here is one of the most surprising truths about the Jewish community in Dubai. Many of them don't talk about it. Not on social media, not with casual acquaintances, not in taxis. There is a careful, practiced discretion, not out of fear of the government, but out of a sensitivity to the broader regional atmosphere. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict casts a long shadow, and no amount of diplomatic agreements can erase the raw emotion behind that history. A young Israeli entrepreneur who moved to Dubai to launch a tech startup described the unspoken rule this way: "We live openly, but quietly. We celebrate, but we don't shout. We're building trust, one relationship at a time." And those relationships are being built. Jewish business owners partnering with Emirati investors, Jewish chefs collaborating with Muslim restaurateurs, Jewish parents sitting beside Emirati parents at school plays, laughing at the same jokes, worrying about the same things. There is a rabbi in Dubai named Levi Dutchman. He is a young, energetic, Brooklyn-born Chabad rabbi who has made it his mission to serve the Jewish community of the UAE. He leads Shabbat dinners, he counsels families, he officiates at weddings, and he has become, in many ways, the human face of Jewish life in the Gulf. What makes Rabbi Dutchman extraordinary is not just what he does, it's where he does it. He walks through Dubai's streets in his black hat and long coat, the traditional dress of an Orthodox rabbi, without fear. Emiratis stop to greet him. Sometimes they ask questions, and he answers with warmth, with humor, and with a deep belief that understanding is always possible between human beings. People are not their governments, he has said. People are people, and when you sit across from a person, break bread with them, learn their name, everything else gets smaller. Now here is a fact that might genuinely surprise you. The UAE is home to more than 200 nationalities. It is one of the most diverse places on earth. And in that context, the Jewish community is, in many ways, just one more thread in an extraordinary human tapestry. What makes them different is the history, the decades of conflict, the old wounds, the unlikely journey that brought them to these sands. And here is another fact almost no one talks about. Before the Abraham Accords, it is estimated that 90% of Jewish residents in the UAE
were living there without ever disclosing their faith. They existed in a kind of spiritual silence. The Accords didn't just change diplomacy, they gave people back their identity. That is not a small thing. That is everything. So where does this story go from here? The Jewish community in Dubai is growing, slowly but steadily. More Israeli businesses are opening offices in the UAE. More Jewish families are relocating. More schools are enrolling Jewish children. The kosher restaurant scene is expanding. The synagogue has hosted hundreds of visitors. And a new generation of young Jewish professionals, Israeli, American, European, are looking at Dubai not as an adventure, but as a home. But the future carries questions that no diplomatic agreement can fully answer. What happens when the political temperature rises in the Middle East, when violence flares in Gaza or the West Bank? The Jewish community in Dubai holds its breath in those moments. They watch the news, they worry, they wonder if the fragile bridge they're walking across will hold. And yet, they stay. They stay because they believe in something, not just in the business opportunity or the tax advantages or the beautiful weather. They stay because they believe this experiment in coexistence is worth fighting for, that their presence here, lighting candles, keeping the Sabbath, raising their children with pride in who they are, is itself an act of hope. History has proven over and over again that walls between human beings are built slowly, and sometimes they can come down slowly too. What is happening in Dubai is not perfect. It is not without tension or complexity or quiet fear, but it is real, and it is happening right now. In a world that often feels like it's being pulled apart by hatred and division, a Jewish family in Dubai is sitting down to Friday night dinner. The candles are lit, the prayers are sung, and outside the window, the desert skyline glows, ancient and modern, divided and together, impossible and real. Maybe the most powerful story in the world is one that no one expected to be possible. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it surprised you, then you already understand why this community matters. There are hundreds of stories like this, hidden in the corners of our world, waiting to be told. Subscribe if you believe those stories deserve to be heard, and share this with someone who needs to see that hope is still out there.